this strange world of show business, we often say, don't we, that you can't believe when somebody did something, or you think, oh, I don't believe they appeared in that or did this. But guess what? They do, and they have, because at that point in their careers, they're desperate for exposure. And the downside of it now in the internet world, the digital platform world that we all live in the 21st century, there's always somebody to remind you exactly, yes, what you did. Now, I've had to do a few. Oh, please. I've been Santa Claus, Father Christmas. Yes. I also had to dress up as a bear once on the high street of a town to give out flyers. That wasn't a bad job, actually, because nobody knew. Boiling in the suit, though. The things you'll do for a book when you're arresting thespian. I said thespian, by the way. Yes, absolutely. Even though when you think about it, in the 1960s, the singing superstar, Dusty Springfield, actually advertised on television in a singing jingle, Mother's Pride Bread. Oh yes, she did, the iconic Dusty. Let's step forward a band who have recently released their latest album. Their frontman has just hit 80 years old. We're talking about the indestructible Mick Jagger and his Rolling Stones. Because, not a lot of people know this, way back in the early part of their career, they were of course pitted against the Beatles. You either like one or the other. That was the deal, wasn't it? But what's interesting to note, you see, is while the Rolling Stones were seen as ultra cool and, you know, the sort of band that you were a little bit more edgy. It's a little bit like in the 90s, Blur versus Oasis. Oasis were the bad boys and Blur were the fun sort of collegey types, you know, this sort of thing. But what really happened way back in 1964 for the Rolling Stones is they weren't really that cool. No. They signed a mega deal to sing the jingle, compose, and put together this, a jingle for Rice Krispies, Kellogg's Rice Krispies. And it was a spoof of the BBC hit TV show Jukebox Jury. Now, what was interesting about this, the track itself is now something of a cult collector's listen, as it were. But the Rolling Stones, strangely enough, do not have this on their CV. I don't know why they don't have this listed on their CV to you. Nothing wrong with it. But according to the documents, it was all about trying to get as much exposure as possible. And they felt that even the very young teenagers of the day would be exposed to the Stones sound, and more importantly, nag their mum and dads to buy them a record player and the latest single or album by the Rolling Stones. But the worst thing for the Stones really happened. While it didn't necessarily do much to dent, shall we say, their popularity with the teenagers, it did actually do better for Kellogg's Rice Krispies. All thanks to the Stones Association, they had a bumper year of sales, with kids all hooked on this particular jingle. It's all there on YouTube, online, if you want to check it out. And as Mick Jagger pointed out to me, I don't really remember that. How very convenient. Yes, but of course, Jumping Jack Flash would say that, wouldn't he? Neil Sean in the very heart of London.